Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Beers and Bullshit podcast. I am your glorious co-host, Jace. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Cole Blenner. He is your gracious primary host. I should put it at that. We are doing a very beer-based episode today. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over the top 10 selling beers globally, and then ranking our personal top 5 favorite beers. So everything's going to be about beer today. I hope you guys enjoy it. That being said, as you guys all know, we do review a unique beer every week on the podcast, and Cole is going to be taking it off from here, going over what we got today. So Cole, what do we have for our beer of the week?
Well, first off, Jace, great intro there, and thank you. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, here I am introducing to you from the White Elm Brewing Company out of Lincoln, Nebraska. We got the Hazy Legs Hazy India Pale Ale. So the phenomenal part about this, I love hazy IPAs. Anytime I get to pick the beer myself, I'm definitely going to pick an IPA or some sort of hazy IPA, just because I like the balance of just the hops and, you know, a lot of the fruit profiles that you're going to get in this as well. So a little bit about the White Elm Brewing Company there. It was built around a shared passion for handcrafted ales and a willingness to defy logic and pursue our love of beer. With a focus on using only the highest quality vegan-friendly ingredients and a reverence for brewing history, they offer modern American and classic Belgian ales to the community of southeast Nebraska and then stretching across here to the Midwest. So, right away, I'm a huge fan of this beer. Obviously, a fantastic balance of, like I said, hops and fruit, just, great citrus notes. Even on the side of this hazy IPA is going to be a reimagination of their Skinny Legs IPA, which is the classic IPA that the White Elm Brewing Company came out with. So with the rearranging of the hops and the additions of the change in yeast, kind of throws the little bit of balance out the window in the original one in a pursuit of a little bit more of a bright, juicy citrus flavor, which is something that I like in my IPAs, a very strong fruit presence. Jace, what are you thinking about this beer here?
Honestly, it's really good. I can't say it's my favorite hazy IPA. I still think that New Belgium has their Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze. It's hard to beat that. But these guys have done a fantastic job. I'm really enjoying it. It's very, very exactly what I'm looking for out of a juicy IPA. I get that rush of hops, but I get that juicy citrus out of the Citra hops that they use to help balance everything out. And I think they made a fantastic one. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for this one. It's very good, very smooth, very crisp. I enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, the White Elm Brewing Company here definitely put themselves on the map for me, just kind of randomly going through the aisle and picking out a beer here. So, the eye caught my can. It's going to be a larger can, about a 16-ounce can, orange all the way around with a silver top. So, once again, the White Elm Brewing Company, the Hazy Legs Hazy India IPA. So, Jace, I'm going to let you go ahead and kick this off here with our topic of the day.
All right, so today we're going over the top 10 selling beers globally. And before I start this list, world, I want you to know that I'm very disappointed in you, okay?
Extremely disappointed.
Extremely disappointed. I'm looking over, and I can't say I'm surprised, okay? But I just thought over the craft beer rush of the last decade that people would have developed taste buds. I was really hoping that I would find some really good beers on this list, but what this tells me is that people are really still cemented in your just traditional Pilsners. And so running from top 10 down to 1, this is not our personal ranked. This is what is the top selling grossing beers in the world are, okay? So at number 10, we have Heineken. They sell $842 million in gross revenue every year. Number 9, Natural Light, $1.4 million in gross revenue every year. Number 8, Busch, $1.584 million every year. Number 7, surprise, surprise, White Claw. The white girls have come out. They have moved on from the pumpkin spice latte, and they have taken the world by storm with their White Claws at $1.64 million. Now we're starting to cross into American Pilsner territory. Number 6 is Miller Lite at $2.16 million a year. Number 5 is Coors at $2.59 million per year. Number 4, Corona, $2.61 million every year. Number 3 is Modelo at 2.66. So Modelo and Corona are actually really close on this list. Surprisingly, above all of those, at number 2 is Michelob Ultra. That's 2.89 million sold a year. And then at the top of the list, and this is insane, and it's not even close, but I think they're also cheating too, I'm going to explain why I'm saying that here in a second, but at the top of the list is Budweiser, okay, at $7 million in gross revenue a year. The reason I think that they are cheating is I think that they are taking Budweiser and Bud Light and combining their numbers, because you go from 2.8 million all the way up to 7 million, going from 2 to 1. That is a massive jump. Now, I don't know whether or not Coors is combining Coors and Coors Light, but from the gross revenue, I would say they're just talking about Coors Banquet. I think if you put Coors Light and Coors together, they're probably jumping up to the number 2 spot. But Cole, what do you think of the top 10 ranking?
So overall, yeah, I think Budweiser, it's kind of a little bit cheap there, but I do know personally, just because my dad does work for the Budweiser distribution center out here in the Black Hills. So for the Midwest, Bud Light murders it, and actually the number 2 beer is actually Budweiser after that in the Black Hills. So fun fact there, I don't know how it is nationwide, but I know that Bud Light is also the highest sold individual beer in the entire world, but that does also include Bud Light Platinum numbers as well. So looking over here, just at the top 10 list, obviously, like you said, kind of a disappointment from guys who like to venture out in our taste in beer. You know, we feature or try to feature everything on the show. So you kind of look at the list and I run it down. Heineken, you know, obviously kind of coming in, I feel like, as like the worldwide favorite there, you know, very domestically popular here in the US, but I know it shares a huge international presence. But yeah, I mean, we can kind of get into our personal rankings. I'll start with Heineken. For me personally, I rank that one as the 7th, because what we're taking here essentially is Jace and I are going to break down what we personally rank the top 10 beers at. And these are not in any indicative in our overall rankings. We're actually going to share our personal top 5s later. But for me, I chose Heineken at number 7 just because I like Heineken. It's not a bad beer. If it's available to me, I'll drink it. But also at the same time, I don't know, there's just something trashy about American beers you love at the end of the day. And Heineken just a little bit too clean for me. It's like if I went to Iceland and swam in a lake and I'm just like, where's the radiation at in this bitch? All right. Like after swimming in Angostura and around uranium my whole life, I just want a little bit of dirt at the end of the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Heineken's crisp and clean. I know you had it ranked a little higher than I did.
I do. And just out of curiosity, just to make it easier for the listeners, I'll leave this up to you. But do you want to start at number 10 on your list and work your way up to number 1 based off of what the top 10 selling is? Or do you want to start at the what the number 10 is on the global rank and tell the fans what we have it ranked at? What would be easier on their ears if we did maybe start at 10 and work your way to 1, I'll start at 10, work my way to 1, and they can kind of see how we have these ranked.
Sounds good. I just jumped the gun at 7 there. I mean, I love chaos and confusion though. That's the best
absolutely.
part.
Yep, chaos is good.
Professor Chaos is my favorite South Park character.
Ian Malcolm over here.
Yep. So you know what? Rewind it. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to start off with my personal list. Number 10 is going to be the Coors, because I fucking hate them. It's a personal thing at this point. This isn't even indicative of beer taste. My dad's a Budweiser salesman. We were raised on Budweiser beer money. Essentially, these people were trying to make sure my family starved at the end of the day. Is warfare, ladies and gentlemen. So they are number 10 for me.
All right. Number 10 was the easiest decision I had to make in ranking this list. Now,
oh God.
Number 10 is White Claw, and that's not even a competition. Now, Cole, have you ever been to Europe before?
No, I have not.
Okay, so when you go over to Europe, you get a little bit of blindsided. When you go down to a restaurant, if you ask for a water, they are going to bring you some carbonated garbage. Okay, you have to ask for flat water because the normal over there is sparkling water. You know, here's the thing, and this is the way I look at it. When I am thirsty, if I feel dehydrated, I do not want my water to be carbonated. That's not going to satisfy me. So it's just obviously a cultural thing, but I think sparkling water is disgusting. So I think how White Claw was formed, and I think how it was invented, was somebody looked at this disgusting sparkling water and they said, how can we make this enjoyable? And at some point, somebody added fruity flavors to it. And they said, well, you know what? This makes it a little better. Okay, if you're craving carbonation, but you don't want the carbs, no pun intended, you can get some fruity flavor out of it, have something a little lighter. And somebody said, no, that is still hot trash. If I am forced or subjected to drink this garbage, I at least better get drunk off of it. And that's where White Claw was born. And at the end of the day, I still rank it as number 10 on my list. I do not like carbonated water. I don't like flavored carbonated water. I think it's disgusting. And this was an easy number 10 for me, White Claw at the bottom of the pack.
God, who hurt you? I would like to retort, but you know what? I'm going to in my White Claw defense later on down the list. But God, who hurt you? Jesus. All right. All right. Well, tiptoeing over the coals here of the scorched earth, I'm going to go ahead and bring number 9 around for me and jump right on the Coors side of things with Miller Lite. Once again, it's personal, bitches. But Coors Light, I rank at 10 over Miller Lite because I'm not particularly fond of the taste of either. Honestly, at the end of the day, I just don't like either beer. But Coors Light, God, they just promote themselves as like this fantastic, would you like to have beer that's made with water fresh from the Rockies? And then it's apparently Rockies water just makes for trash beer brewing. Either that or like, you know, Budweiser has a plant in Fort Collins and they don't advertise this, all right? And that's probably why they sell a little bit more than the trash Molson Coors family brands does. Okay,
first off,
so fuck 10, fuck 9, no Coors, no Miller Lite, out of here. My hate for them is way stronger than your little displeasure for White Claw.
We will get into that, but just actually fun fact for the audience, the Fort Collins Budweiser brewery is where the Clydesdales are stabled. So
I love it. Yep. We've gotten to see him a couple of times going down there. So I love the Clydesdales personally. Yeah. How can you not? I mean, Budweiser and taste aside, Clydesdales money.
Steph and I went there one time, and unfortunately they were out on tour, so we didn't get to see them. But the brewery tour was really fun. It's always a good time going to those big breweries and see how they do it on such a massive production scale. It was a good time. Really enjoyed it. So,
well, with the Clydesdales too, the one thing I'm gonna gloat a little bit about here is growing up a child of Budweiser. Not only did I get child shirts that were made with the logo on it, which probably speaks more to alcohol culture in America than anything. But with my dad working, we got to see the behind-the-scenes Clydesdale. So they came here for I think like a parade one time. Mm-hmm. And we actually got to go back, pet them, and oh my God, I was probably 12 the last time I saw them, and they are humongous.
Yeah, they're
in
massive.
real life. I mean, could you imagine just like a giant riding those into war in Game of Thrones? How was that never utilized? But
right.
Anyways, side topic, whatever. Jace, what did you have for your number 9 beer?
Before I get into my number 9, I'm going to give everybody a heads up. I will not be kind on any of these beers. At no point during this rating are you going to hear me say anything remotely positive because this top 10 list sucks. Okay, so on my number 9, actually I got a nice comparison. Okay, my number 9, and I know, Cole, you get up a lot earlier than most people do, but when you are getting a great night's sleep, okay, and that fucking alarm goes off, and it wakes you up from your beautiful slumber to remind you how you have to go back to that 40-hour grind. What is the first thing you wake up to every day? I will spoil this for you.
All right.
It's natural.
Spoil it.
Natural light. That's what you have to wake up to every day when that alarm goes off is natural light. And so this company named their beer after one of the things I absolutely hate because it wakes me up from my beautiful sleep in the morning and reminds me I have to go back to work. You know, like the blinding brightness of the morning sun, this beer makes you just want to curl up and pretend that the real world doesn't exist. It is the bottom of the barrel for domestic beers, and I cannot stand it. It is absolutely horrible. It tastes like almost like what I imagine the water flowing out of Flint, Michigan tastes like.
So, is governmental governmental incident bad?
Yes, it is horrible. So number 9 on my list comes Natural Light, Natty Ice, Natty Light. I don't really care. You know, there was a point in time where, and you really realize it as you get older. Everybody's like, oh, everybody drinks Natty Ice and Keystone Light and all this stuff. Yeah, because we couldn't afford, even real beer at the time. When you were 18, 19 and you were in college and you were broke and you went to the liquor store and Natural Light is $6 for, a 6-pack and Bud Light's $7 for a 6-pack. It's like, yeah, it's only $1, but when you're in college, $1 is $1. So you go with the cheapest option possible and the price reflects the quality. Natural Light sucks.
So Natural Light, the only thing I will give any sort of defense to, and this is something I brought up at work the other day because you did not know about it. So Natural Light, the only saving grace they have from not being number 10 on my list, and this speaks to the fact of how great this other beer is, because Natty Ice and Natural Light are fucking disgusting. Even then, I I still would just almost refuse after Natty Ice for a certain time. I just didn't do it anymore. I played a long game of Edward 40 Hands one time with Natty Ice, and that was just the end of it for me.
Yep.
But they have this beer called Natter Days. It's like a strawberry lemonade beer, and I will tell you this, it is magic in the summertime.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. It goes back smoother than cream cheese on your damn bagel, and it is the saving grace of what's going to bring them up to the number 8 beer on my list. Because like I said, if we're going off of pure quality, I can hate on Miller Lite and Coors and all that all I want to, but
Can I pause
Natural
you for a
Light's the
second,
worst.
Cole?
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't want to confuse our listeners, but I believe you started with number 10 at Coors.
Coors, yes.
And then I came to White Claw, and then when I went back to you, you said number 10 at Coors again. So I think
number 9 for me was Miller.
Number 9 was Miller.
Miller.
Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
Miller. Yeah,
okay,
Miller.
Gotcha.
Miller Lite from the Molson Coors company, because they brew the same beer. Coors Light. And Miller Lite are
I just wanted to make
essentially-
sure that nobody was confused listening to this. So number 9 on your list is Miller Lite. It is not Coors again. Okay, gotcha. I thought you hated Coors so much you put it twice on the list.
Yeah. So on Nice, I listed it twice. No. So just to recap my list there. Yeah. So it's going to be number 10 Coors products. Period. Light Banquet can just go in the trash. Miller Lite number 9. And I'm going to guess. Miller 64 and everything is going to be on that list as well. But number 8 for me, like I said, it was defending Natural Light and the Natural brand, because obviously most of their beer is garbage, but Natter Days, strawberry lemonade beer, a little bit girly, a little bit fruity, but once again, apparently that's just everything you hate in this world.
Well, you know what? When you're looking at Natter Days, right? So it's easy to give that a compliment because they took their previous recipe, crumpled it up, threw it in the trash, and made alcoholic strawberry lemonade.
Yep.
So they're two completely different things. Natural Light sucks. I'm not saying Natter Days suck, because Natter Days are not, it's not like you have just strawberry lemonade flavored beer. It's alcoholic strawberry lemonade. But Natural Light as a Pilsner is... It's sewer water full, I'm concerned.
I was about to say, I mean, because this list is kind of weird, I feel like, because they list Coors as an overall brand, but then they list just Miller Lite. But then they list Natural Light, but I'm just going to go ahead and assume that's all of the Natural Light or Natty Ice or whatever brands overall.
Right,
so that's the only reason it's number 8 on my list, is because I gave that small bump due to the Natter Days.
Yeah.
But you kind of went somewhere else with number 8.
So, number 8, I am... moving on to Busch, okay, and I actually...
You hate Busch.
I do not like Busch. Yeah, no, like like Kurt and Kyle, they bring the whole trailer park out, okay? They get Busch will just get you, bringing out your lawn chairs, grilling up your rattlesnake, and you'll be ready to go on a Thursday afternoon, pounding back those Busch Lights. No, Busch, I still don't care for. It's not as bad as Natural Light. It's not as bad as Keystone. Keystone would be down there with the Natty Light if it had even made the top 10 list, but it did not. So Busch Light, again, is just a cheap excuse of a Pilsner to me. It's not that far off from Bud Light for me, actually, and I'm going to explain why. And this is actually a fun fact I learned when I was touring the Budweiser plant in Fort Collins. So in your fermenter, before they move it from fermentation, from the second fermenter to the bottling, Bud Light is only the top 7/10 of the fermenter. So they put that into bottles, that becomes Bud Light. What is left at the bottom of the fermenter is actually what they use for Busch Light. So funny enough, you are almost Busch Light and Bud Light are almost the same exact beer. They are made in the same fermenter and everything. The only difference is where they are at in the fermenter. So it's just kind of funny because there's a huge, I guess you shouldn't say huge, but there is a price difference between Busch Light and Bud Light, but you're drinking the same beer. They were both made. They both came out of the same exact fermenter. And I found that fascinating when I did my tour in Fort Collins, and just kind of another fun fact I thought people would like. But moving on to...
Once again, Jace hates Busch.
Yes, yeah, I do. Yep. So moving on to number 7, Cole, what do you got have you done? Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of already, we'll just recap that one there. Number 7, I had Heineken. It is the, just clear European quality that I just apparently do not like. So like I said, have nothing really against it at all. I'll drink one if it's there, but it's just meh to me. Just meh. So what do you feel about number 7 though?
Number 7 for me is I'm actually going to start getting into the American Pilsners here, and this one is easy for me between the three of them because Miller Lite is disgusting, and people who drink Miller Lite should be ashamed of themselves. This, if you had to choose between Bud, Coors, and Miller, Miller is at the bottom. Like, I firmly believe that Miller Lite is the oldest beer in the world because I think that in 2000 BC at some point somebody in Egypt was roaming the desert on a camel and they were about to die of dehydration, and the only thing they had to resort to was the piss from the camel they were riding on. So when they drank that piss, they said, you know what, this isn't actually half bad, I'm going to call this Miller Lite. And that is where I believe Miller Lite was originally founded. But no, all jokes aside, I really don't like Miller Lite. Between the three breweries, Budweiser and Coors both brew with corn, and Miller brews with rice. So I don't know if it's because they use rice instead of corn in their brewing process, but I prefer the latter to the former. I'm not a big fan of Miller Lite, but moving on, you, Cole, what do you got there at number 6? We're moving on to number 6 now, right? Because you did your Heineken spiel for number 7 already.
Exactly. Yep. So after going to Europe, we're going to drop on down to Mexico. And number 6, I got Corona. Okay. I used to like Corona a lot. I'm not going to lie. Probably coming out of high school, going into college, obviously a big summertime beer you can kind of venture out into. I didn't really get to Natter Days until later, which is a fun one for me in the summer, as I mentioned. But for Corona, I liked him at first, and then I moved down to Vegas. And I got to experience a lot more like Southern-based lagers. Yeah. I'm a fan of Modelo. I actually rank that ahead of Corona for me personally. I agree. Yep. Because, I'm a huge fan of Modelo over Corona at the end of the day. And that's the thing is, I feel like Corona is just Americanized Modelo to where you get like that actual like Mexican beer flavor. Yep. And a lot of people from what I found who were actually like from Mexico or, like second generation were more fans of Modelo as well. It's just kind of something that I noticed down there in Vegas. A lot of the more like traditional type Mexican restaurants, you had Modelo on tap instead of Corona. Corona was just in bottle. You had Modelo on tap and in the can. So
yeah, I just got back from Mexico. Surprisingly enough, our resort only had Dos Equis.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they didn't have Modelo or Corona, so.
Interesting. So, for me, I'm going to put Corona at number 6. I love it personally. It's a great summertime beer, but it's kind of like a specialty. I got to kind of be feeling that one for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to number 6 for me is going to be, and I'm going to ruffle Cole's feathers here, but it's Budweiser. All right. Budweiser in general, the self-proclaimed king of beers, which in my opinion is an insult to the entire brewing community. Okay. You don't just get up on a pedestal and call yourself the king of beers. All right. That's just because you're one of the first does not mean you're the best. All right. That's like Pong proclaiming itself the king of video games. Okay, at the end of the day, you are the most simple, dumbed down version of a video game that you can get, and that does not make you the best. And Budweiser is the same in that regard. It is one of the most simple, dumbed down beer recipes you can get. I'm not a fan of American lagers at all, but between the three of them, Budweiser is firmly number 2 on my list between just those 3 and number 5 on this particular list. So that being said, let's go ahead and do a quick little recap of where we are so far. So on my list, number 10 was White Claw. Number 9 was Natural Light. Number 8 was Busch. Number 7 was Miller Lite. And number 6 was Budweiser.
Gotcha. And to go ahead and recap my bottom 5 of the top 10 highest selling beers globally. I got number 10 is going to be the Coors products. Number 9 is going to be Miller Lite and the Miller products. Number 8, Natural Light. Number 7, Heineken. And then left off with number 6 being Corona. And then, Jace, let's go ahead and we'll flip it around here. We'll have you start with the top 5 beers. What was your number 5 beer?
So number 5 on mine, and I'm just continuing my domestic run, came out to Coors. Okay, now if I had to pick between the 3 domestics, I do prefer Coors above the 3 of them. I know, Cole, you and I are polar opposites on that. And at the end of the day, I still think it's trash. Even compared to beers all on the entire beer spectrum, Coors is still trash. But if you're talking about the American ones, they call it the banquet beer for a reason. Okay. That's because like if you had a choice to go to a nice steakhouse or have a banquet TV dinner, that's kind of how it is with Coors. Okay. You can have a nice quality beer or you can have the banquet beer. All right. It's the cheap, shitty version of an actual meal. It's a cheap, shitty version of an actual beer. I prefer Coors over the 3 of them. It has the best taste and what you could call flavor. But it's what I seem to enjoy the most out of the 3 big name domestic beers. So Cole, passing it off to you. What do you got for number 5?
Passing it off, and we're going to go ahead and dig up some old bodies that you mentioned a little bit ago, and I'm going to go ahead and defend the White Girl Army. Because at number 5, I got White Claw. And overall, I'm going to kind of go ahead and throw in my love for seltzers just overall here. With White Claw, I don't know what your hate is for it. I don't know why you can take something that's carbonated and fruity and good and just hate on it. It's more like if Sprite had vodka in it at the end of the day, because apparently Jace, when he was a kid, ordered a water at a restaurant, and then all of a sudden they brought him out San Pellegrino because, I don't know, it was just something that happened. And then you were scarred for life. Like
I was a 27-year-old adult, and I was in Europe, and they brought me carbonated water when I was thirsty, and I wanted real water. Flat water. Yeah, I was not a child.
Go to therapy over it. Go to therapy over it. Don't take it out on White Claw. All right, because here's the deal. No one's going to sit here and talk about quality with White Claw, but man, when you're on the beach and you can just toss a couple back, they're fantastic. And also at the same time, they're a little bit more refreshing sometimes because these Americanized beers that we just kind of ran through the list on, the Budweiser, the Coors, and all these beers, they get a little heavy from time to time. And a White Claw just makes you feel light, makes you feel like you can still jump around and prance around in a field of flowers with your dress just twirling in the wind. And that is where I'm going to defend the White Girl Army.
I would take
because me personally, okay. White Claw's all right. It's all good. But you know what? The people have spoken, and White Claw was the highest jumping beer this year with a 245% product increase. So the White Girl Army is out, and they are coming for you, Jason.
That's because the Starbucks Army is turning 21. So
exactly. Hell hath no fury like a millennial, oh my God, scorned.
If I'm on the beach, I would rather have an island lager over a White Claw any day. Give me a Corona, Modelo, a Dos Equis, or a margarita. If I'm on the beach, I'm somewhere better than South Dakota, and at that point, I can get a good margarita or something. But moving everything along. On to number 4 on my list is going to be Michelob Ultra. Now, this is another thing that I learned when I was touring the Budweiser factory. Is Michelob is brewed by Anheuser-Busch, but Michelob Ultra is their premium lager. And I did not know that before. Like Miller Lite, they use rice instead of corn, and they have an extended mashing period as well. So they actually, it brews a little longer, and they fine-tune the flavors of it. But at the end of the day, what Budweiser proclaims to be their premium lager is still terrible compared to what I would like to call real beer. So passing number 4 back off to you there, Cole.
How's this feeling look with your nose so far up in the ear? Bitch. Yeah, with real beer here. I know, because we have to support real beer here on this podcast. I go to the goddamn liquor store, you get 8 cans for $36. Sometimes you just want to be cheap, and sometimes you want to be good. And I'm gonna go ahead and definitely retort on that one later on in the list. But yeah, for me, we're leaving off here at number 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 4 on the list for me is going to be Budweiser. All right, okay. So here's where they can call themselves the king of beers, Jace, is because they've sold more beer than anybody. And when you're talking about globally, I feel like money rules a lot of things and carries a lot of weight. And so, you can sit here with your nose up in the air and your little, it doesn't taste as good as the other beers. And your little Connecticut accent. Okay. All right, ask me something here, mid-rant.
What if Disney proclaimed themselves the king of Star Wars?
All hail to the mouse. They own Star Wars. So they are the king of Star Wars, whether you like to admit it or not. Like, we got to accept some things out there. And once again, I've got a special affection for Budweiser, but at the end of the day, it's the best out of the, surround around domestic beers, obviously out of your Coors, your Miller Lite, your Budweiser. It's the one I'm more preferable because at this point, stats don't lie. The king is the king. So bow down to the crown. At least to Bud Light, man. It's not so bad. Bud Heavy is interesting. Bud Light Platinum is a joke in its own right because it actually has more alcohol than either Budweiser or Bud Light. But
it tastes like rubbing alcohol to me. Bud Light Platinum does.
Listen, we've all seen what the American people think is popular and think is right. We can agree that's trash on the most part. What they chose in their beers is correct because the number one, as much as I have a small white trash affection for it, it's still trash.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So for you, what was your number 4? Or your number 3? Your number 3.
My number 3 is Heineken. Okay. There's 2 things I cannot stand in this world: people who are intolerant of the heritage of other beer, and the Dutch beer. Sorry, I had to do a little
Dutch
beer. I had to do a little Austin Powers plug-in though. But the funny thing about this is, and I did a little research on Heineken, is it's almost to the T the same recipe as Budweiser. It's just made in Europe. Heineken is Europe's Budweiser, and I don't know if it's because they're high when they brew it that it tastes a little bit better to me, but I prefer Heineken over American domestics, and that's just my personal taste. But Heineken comes in at number 3 for me on my list.
Yeah, I went a little international for number 3 myself, picking Modelo. Actually, had never tried a Modelo until I moved down to Vegas. Didn't even know it was a thing. Like, probably maybe heard of it, once in a while. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite beers. I absolutely miss having a crisp Modelo with a lime in it, just because around here you can find it more and more at restaurants, but I still feel like Corona or Dos Equis is that premium Mexican lager that you're going to find around here. But I love Modelo just because the worldwide popularity speaks for itself with it being the number 3 beer.
For sure.
I think it's a phenomenal, average beer for Mexican lagers. It ranks pretty good. I haven't gotten to expand too much in the Mexican lager game, and that's something hopefully I can in the future. I didn't probably take advantage as much as I should have, being in Vegas, being so close to where a lot of the breweries are in, like the southwestern United States and Mexico. I kind of focused a lot more on my beer exploration on IPAs, which I'm sad none of them actually cracked the list. But, oh well, maybe the white boy with beard phase is over and the white women are taking control with their white claws.
They're taking over the world.
So, yeah, and I guess moving on here. So we covered the number 3 beers on our list. So we're going to kind of start cracking into the top 2.
So top 2. And I'm putting both these top 2 because at the end of the day, I do prefer Mexican and island lagers over American Pilsners. That's just an American lagers. That's my personal preference. But Corona is going to come in at number 2. And like I said, nothing in this top 10 is a good beer. I'm not going to be nice to any of these, even my top 2, because at the end of the day, Corona is still so bad they named viruses after it. Okay. Corona is not a good beer. All right. It's the Mexican equivalent to Bud Light, or at least what they have down there. And on the shelf, it sits somewhere in between E. coli and Tijuana toilet water. So it's really not far off from there. So, Corona is, it might have a little bit of a rough flavor, but I rank it higher than American domestics because at the end of the day, at least it has flavor.
God, once again, who hurt you? I mean, don't get me wrong. Once again, I kind of shit on Corona as
like
this discount
in my beer.
It's the Walmart of Mexican lagers at the end of the day. And yeah, if Mexican toilet water is the wrath of Montezuma, then this is definitely the wrath of Cortez when you get too many Coronas going in you at the end of the day. But whatever. That's your hate for Corona. Yep. Number 2, I'm gonna go ahead and bounce back in the Busch because I love Busch. I love Busch so much. I just want to get all up inside of Busch and just be all up in the Busch because I love Busch Light. Because it is just like Budweiser, but it's cheaper, it's easier to drink, and you know what? Sometimes when you just don't want to taste the beer, it's fantastic. Busch Light was there for me. Busch Light is like what Taco Bell is to me. It's nostalgic at this point. I don't like drinking Busch Light, but I look back at it on my college days and I'm like, you were there for me when I didn't have any money. So that's why I love Busch Light.
Yeah,
well, I love Busch.
And like I said earlier, Busch Light and Bud Light are literally the same beer. Same beer out of the same fermenter. It's just where they were at in the fermenter is how they distribute it in the bottles. So if you're going to spend the money on Bud Light, you might as well save money and buy Busch Light because you're literally drinking the same exact beer.
Exactly. I've known that my entire life. So I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Busch, awesome. And like I said, this is probably more of an emotional list for me. This is just how I feel about the beers. Because once again, as you said, at the end of the day, they're all trash. They're all depressingly just average beers that we've seen on taps for the past fucking 20 years. So yeah, like I said, I emotionally ranked these ones and how close they are to my heart.
Yep.
And how much they fed me as children. Budweiser actually should be number 1, but whatever.
Should be. You ready for the old numero?
Yeah, here we go. Drum roll.
All right, number 1 at the list of the shitty beers that the world determined are good is, for me, Modelo. Okay, Modelo is to Corona what Michelob is to Bud Light. It's a little bit more premium version of that beer. Okay, so they basically took that beer, they do a little bit longer brewing process, and they fine-tune the flavors a little bit. I'm not saying, again, and I will repeat this over and over, all 10 of these beers suck. I'm not saying Modelo is a good beer. I'm just saying that if I have to rank all 10 of these, I will put Modelo at the top. I think it's got a little bit more flavor than Corona. I think that it's a little more crisper, refined, and smoother. And I just, I can't hate on Modelo. we have a really good family friend of ours who is actually from Mexico, and I had never heard of Modelo before. But about 6 or 7 years ago, he brought a pack over to my parents' house and had us try it. And he said, "This is the beer that people actually like in Mexico." He's like, Modelo, or not Modelo, Corona, Dos Equis is like, those are marketed to Americans, but we actually like Modelo down there. So, and that's honestly, that got me loving Modelo. So Modelo takes the number one spot for me as far as the top 10 beers.
I love how you go out Espanol with the E. Makes the lime just squeeze right in that.
It really does. Yeah.
Modelo.
Yeah, well, I'm learning Spanish, you son of a bitch. And what it said is enunciation is more important than knowing how to knowing the word. So
my two favorite Spanish phrases are "mi permite ir al baño" and "ay papi." So I don't know if the second one's technically appropriate, but whatever. Number one for me is going to be Michelob. Once again, just going off the emotional rankings here, I just like Mich Ultra just because it's a nice, clean, easy beer. At the end of the day, I have my personal affection for Budweiser and shit-tasting beers just because of nostalgia. Yeah. And you can always, grow out of the streets and into the high-rise as far as beer lovers. You can love your IPAs, you can love your stouts, and travel the world as far as your beer love can go at the end of the day. But you still resort back to the trailer park every once in a while. And this one's a double rise in the trailer park, with that little top edition that came on of all cardboard.
Yep.
That is the Mich Ultra of this list right here. So, the shit that does shine, the most fantastic light beer out there, which is just such a dampening statement because this list is just depressing. Let's go ahead and recap the bottom 5 of the most popular beers in the world. Depressingly, once again, number 5 for me was White Claw. Number 4 was Budweiser. Number 3 was Modelo. Number 2 was the Busch products. I love Busch. And then at the end of the day, number 1 was Michelob. Jace?
That's fair. So number 5 for me was Coors. Number 4 was Michelob. Number 3 was Heineken. Number 2 was Corona. And number 1 was Modelo.
Modelo. Fantastic. Well, after going through that depressing list here, I'm going to shake it off here like Taylor Swift. But let's get into something we actually really want to talk about, and I think that is our top 5 beers.
All right. So what we're going to be doing now is, aside from that garbage list that was the top selling beers globally, we're going to be diving into what is our personal top 5 favorite beers. Okay. Now, keep in mind, we're not saying that these beers are the best beers in the world. Everybody has their personal preferences. Okay. I love IPAs. My wife does not like IPAs. Everybody has different tastes and different palates, as you can say. So this is just going to be between Cole and I, what our personal favorite beers are out there. And I started off the last one. So Cole, I'm going to go ahead and let you kick this one off. As far as your personal list, what is number 5 for you?
Fantastic. So number 5, I'm going to travel a little bit here. We're going to go to Belgium with the Weinstefaner Hefe Weiss beer. So this is going to be, if you are not familiar with German Weiss beers, they are going to be along the lines of Blue Moon with a little bit more of a wheat profile, less exaggerated on probably the orange and the fruity flavor. So they're still going to rock back very nice. Just like a blonde ale, you're going to get more of a kind of golden yellow or hazy appearance. You're going to want probably about an inch ahead on your average draft pour there with this beer. But this is a beer that me personally, I fell in love with in Vegas. I had never heard of Hefeweizens or Weiss beers before. And so just getting into that Belgian and that just American wheat and the foreign wheat market there and learning to love those beers and just kind of getting to taste those because they're a little bit fuller profile, a little bit more than, probably like your average Pilsner and than anything, but they're not as heavy as maybe a stout or an IPA for me. So that's why I fell in love with it. And then the name Weinstefaner took me like a year to learn. So at this point, it's just cemented in my brain, just burned in there.
Just grilled in there, huh?
But it was definitely, the best Belgian beer I've probably ever tried would be that one as well.
Awesome.
So that's number 5 for me.
All right. Well, number 5 for me on my list is going to be Big Wave by Kona Brewing out of Hawaii. Now, Kona, and the reason this is number 5 on my list is not necessarily because I think it's one of the best beers out there, but it's one of the beers that personally helped me transition away from your Budweiser, Coors, Miller, typical American Pilsners into the actual realm of craft beers. And I think that Kona did such a good job. I think they perfected the golden ale. I mean, they really did. But they got the golden ale down so well that it literally made them a national brewing distributor. And what I love about it, what's interesting about it is they use citra hops when they're brewing golden ale, which citra hops a lot of times you're only going to find in like pale ales and IPAs and stuff like that. So it does make it a little bit more bitter, but I absolutely love Kona Big Wave. It's more of a personal thing for me. Not that I think it's the best beer out there, but that it helps me transition to craft beers and to expanding my palate in beer. So Kona Wave is going to cement itself into number 5 on my list.
Fantastic. So yeah, I'll just boomerang back around here to number 4 then. For me, it's actually going to be something we featured on, I believe it was the 4th episode I ever had of this podcast. I had my good buddy Joe on.
3 episodes ago.
Yep. Jim, fuck off. All right. Listen. This is for the annals of history here. All right. When we look back one day at the shitty podcast that I made with my dumb friend Jace, who hates American beers, and we look back with you and your litter of dogs and me with my litter of children. We're going to look back at this one day and just be like, oh, yay. And I'm going to look back at a beer that I'm going to love forever. And that's the one I found in the 4th episode, the Left Hand Peanut Butter Milk Stout.
All right.
This was a phenomenal beer to try. It's very new, but man, it is just fantastic. As far as stouts go, I absolutely love it. I'm not a huge stout fan overall, but when I do find a stout that I like, I just absolutely dive into it. Mm-hmm. So this one's going to be from the Left Hand Brewing Company, and obviously the peanut butter and just kind of the combination of the already like coffee-esque flavor that the stout has just, meshes fantastically and just makes for a really smooth beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
love Left Hand, and funny enough, if you don't mind, if you want to pass the baton off, I will. Number 4, I am staying at the same brewery. Okay, I'm staying at Left Hand because their Nitro Milk Stout, and this is something about me personally, and I'll just let everybody know. Stouts are my favorite type of beer. I'm a dark beer drinker. I love that kind of stuff. Even during the summer when it's 100 degrees, I love slamming back some stouts. Left Hand is a brewery that I discovered about 2 years ago, and what I love about Left Hand is they have never made a beer I don't like. Everything they make is so fantastic. They're one of my favorite breweries out there, and what they accomplished with the milk stout is as close to anybody I think has ever come to touching Guinness. They have taken the stout and they have really just fine-tuned it, and they add just enough vanilla cream to really give it that sweet flavor to it, and it's just... It is so fantastic. I absolutely love it. If you have not had the milk stout by Left Hand, you are missing out. One thing about nitros, though, and I'll give everybody a little hint here, but if you buy a nitro at a store, always try to buy it in a can instead of versus in a bottle, because in the cans they put little nitro tablets in there, so it helps maintain the nitrogen levels, and it helps give it a more creamy head and a more smooth finish. So it's going to easier replicate what you would get on draft. So if you see a nitro beer in stores, buy it in a can, not in a bottle. So that being said, Left Hand Milk Stout, I think Left Hand made number 4 in both of our lists. So go ahead and take it off, Cole, with number 3 on your list, sir.
Fantastic. Yeah, once again, if you're going to try any stout, definitely first off, get it on tap and get it with, the nitro pour. But yeah, can over bottle. Jason, good tip there. Number 3 for me, I'm going to jump into the Pilsner game with my favorite Pilsner I have ever tried. It's going to be from the Uinta Brewing Company out of, I believe it's Salt Lake City in Utah. Okay. It's going to be their Lime Pilsner. Now, this is, Uinta was the company that originally, actually, when I was working for Yard House, brewed a lot of their house beers. I switched halfway through when I was working there to a different brewery, but Uinta, I kind of fell in love with a lot of their beers, especially the Honey Blonde they did for Yard House, and then the Lime Pilsner came around. Okay. And this is just a phenomenal beer. I have a small preference to lime myself as far as just having it in beers or just as kind of like an attachment to any beer. I like doing Bud Light with lime as far as, like my trashy go-to. Yep. But this is probably one of the better, just more crisp and, solid finishing lime pilsners. It's crisp to start, but it doesn't just leave tingling in your mouth, I feel like, as most lime pilsners do. Yeah. So like for your average pilsner drinker, it's a phenomenal, just drink just to kind of knock back on a summer day. Yeah. Absolutely. And number 3 for you? So number 3 for me comes from a brewery that over the past couple of years I have absolutely grown to love. If you were to ask me 3 years ago what I thought of IPAs, not even 3 years ago, just like 2 years ago, I would have told you that IPAs are disgusting, that they taste like
just wheatgrass water. Like, I hated IPAs, but again, like a lot of my journey through beer, my palate has expanded, and I actually really have grown to like IPAs quite a bit. And the brewery that I discovered a couple years ago is called Stone Brewing Company. And in my opinion, again, personal opinion, I do not think anybody makes a better IPA than they do. That's kind of what they specialize in. Even if you go to the stores, all their variety packs are just their IPA variety packs. It's almost like that's all they make, but they do make some other beers, but their IPAs are fantastic. Now they have, I think, 5 or 6 different IPAs, and out of all of them, my favorite one is called Cosmic Runestone IPA. And I actually just discovered this one a few months ago, and I don't know what it is about it. I don't know. They don't leave a whole lot of information on their website as far as what they use for ingredients, but it's just got such a unique hazy flavor. It's definitely, there's some fruitiness to it. It's a hazy IPA. But there's just something about it that is just so fantastic. I can just drink these back to back to back to back and never get tired of them. So number 3 on my list is going to be Cosmic Runestone IPA by Stone Brewing Company.
So, yeah, I actually want to add on to that just because the number 2 beer for me is something you actually already featured. And I'm just going to drop that as the Kona Big Wave. And I'll get into that in a second. But Stone Brewing, it's funny enough that you said that after Uinta, because that was actually the company that took over for the brewing rights for Yard House when I worked out there. And so Stone Brewing Company, I have a huge affection for just because their IPAs, the Standard Stone IPA, phenomenal. Probably one of the most ordered IPAs in Vegas that I saw. Just overall working in the service and bartending industry out there. I mean, it is a highly selling IPA. But then the tap takeovers that they would do for us were phenomenal. They had these Imperial IPAs and these double IPAs, and they had this it was almost a cuvee, which is kind of a mixture of beers. It was like a wheat beer that was mixed with their traditional IPA that they would make for Yard House, and it was just out of this world. It was like 6.3%, but like I said, it was kind of this combination of like a Belgian wheat, so, very high on the fruit and, kind of the balance with wheat, and then they mix that with an IPA, and it was just phenomenal.
Absolutely.
But obviously for my number 2, I had Kona Big Wave. You already kind of went on at length about that. For me, it's the same thing. It was one of the beers that really kind of progressed me past just this Midwest beer culture we kind of get into.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I had my brother on one episode, and for him, like, God, PBR was branching out, and I'm like, oh God, my sweet summer child, what has life done to you? But yeah, for me, number 2, Kona Big Wave there.
Awesome. Moving on to number 2 for me, and this is really, it was hard for me to put this at number 2, but I couldn't really not put it at number 2. And as Cole would say, way back on our second podcast ever, so a month ago, we featured a beer on that. The look Cole's giving
the way back when.
Yeah. The way back when.
Yeah, my shoulders still hurt from carrying it back in those days, so fuck off.
We featured a beer by New Belgium called Oak Spire. Now, it was a bourbon barrel aged beer that was made with, that had, all beer has sugar. That's, priming sugar is how you turn your yeast into alcohol, but it had bitters, cherries, and orange peel in it to replicate what you would normally expect out of an old fashioned if you ordered one at the bar. And the flavor profile I got out of that was unlike anything I've ever had in a beer. It is absolutely fascinating. I do not know how they accomplished that. I would love to learn how to accomplish that one day. But it was absolutely phenomenal. It's a bourbon barrel beer, so it is aged. But that really catapulted up to number 2 on my list. That was such a complex, phenomenal beer. I literally went home and bought 4 more 6-packs of it. I mean, I want to get as much of this as I can before they stop making it, because it's a limited run beer, but it is so good. If you guys have not had it, make your way up to Boyd's on 8th and get a 6-pack of it before they stop making it, because it is phenomenal.
So it's funny, actually, I think probably 4 or 5 people sent me pictures of that within the coming days after our podcast release.
Nice.
And they're like, we actually picked it up and tried it. Yeah, people were really on top of it.
I'm really glad other people got to try it, because it needs to get out there. That was, I'm not a fan of all of New Belgium's beers, but that was out of this world. That was so good. So
I know when you kind of brought a New Belgium product here, I was like, all right, we were supposed to be branching out and, shouting out small breweries, and then I tasted the beer. I'm like, oh, never mind. We're good.
Yep.
We're good there. Yeah, and then number 1, kind of jumping off of your hazy IPA bandwagon, the number 1 beer for me is still my favorite beer to this day, and we featured it here. That's going to be the Sierra Nevada Hazy Little Thing. Out of the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company out in Chico, California. They have become one of the better, and I feel like better known breweries, especially on the West Coast. Because Sierra Nevada features a lot of different products at a lot of different bars. But for me, the Hazy Little Thing was always a fantastic IPA that they kind of have. It's a delicious IPA, with oats and wheats in there. And then they actually, use a kettle to fire up and kind of blend a lot of their ingredients together with the IPAs. And I didn't know about this until kind of reading into it a little bit more. But for me, hazy IPAs have been my drink. It's something that I love featuring. It's something we featured on this pod. This episode. But Sierra Nevada just kind of knocks it out of the park with that one for me.
Sierra Nevada's always been big on their hoppy beers and their IPAs and stuff like that. That's been a big staple of their thing. I used to hate Sierra Nevada because I hated bitter hoppy beers, but now I actually really like them. Again, my palate's evolved. So funny enough, I've never had that beer. So I am going to have to stop and pick that up. And I will, I'll let you know what I think of it. That'll be on my to-do list today, is to pick up a pack of that and try it out.
Yeah, you'll definitely enjoy it.
Number one for me, has and probably will always stand at the top of my list for my favorite beer of all time, and that is Guinness. Okay. I love dark beers. I love stouts. And what Arthur Guinness managed to accomplish in 1955 or 1959 is nothing short of amazing. He perfected the stout, and they pioneered the nitro system to make stouts creamy and smooth. And it's such a complex, robust beer, and I love everything about it. I love how smooth it is. I love the flavors. I love the consistency out of it. You have a damn good beer when you have a 4.5 minute long 6-step process to pouring it correctly to make sure that it tastes exactly how it's supposed to taste. And there is just something about Guinness that I will always love. I can drink that stuff like chocolate milk. I can kill off 8 to 10 Guinnesses in a day. I mean, I love Guinness so much, and it will most likely always be right there at the top of my favorite beers of all time. And that's where I'm really going to polish it off. And Guinness number one for me. Cole, any other thoughts for you, man?
So with Guinness here, I'm actually trying to look it up right now, and I'm trying to just go ahead and buy a little time. But it was a fun fact I actually featured on the last podcast, and it's like over, I think, 163,000 pints of beer are lost in mustaches every year from Guinness. So, what do you? While I look up the statistics here, quick thought on that for you.
It doesn't surprise me at all. A lot of it's actually something that makes me laugh, is that this whole bearded hipster thing has really just exploded in the last 7 years with, bearded guys are almost simultaneously looked at in the same realm as craft beer. I mean, it's almost like how,
flannel beanie beard.
Exactly. Just like you got your hipster, Subaru driving,
teenager with a vape. Exactly.
It's almost a stereotype at this point, but yeah, no, that does not surprise me at all.
Yeah. So, the actual fact is, 162,719 pints of the Irish Stout go to waste every single year. So it's found that 0.56 milliliters of Guinness gets trapped in a beard in every sip.
Oh my God.
And it takes an average of 10 sips to finish a pint. So like they were just estimating like 92,370 Guinness consumers that are in the UK that have facial hair.
Okay.
And so, I mean, just averaging about 180 pints a year, Guinness loses about $536,000, or their customers lose $536,000 a year if they're not clean shaven drinkers. So I guess, Jace, the fact that you haven't been able to grow, a full manly beard just like I haven't, apparently helps us a little bit.
Have I not been able to, or have I been thinking about my Guinness intake?
Good question.
Exactly.
But still calling genetics bullshit. But yeah, that is my final thoughts. Since you entered, why don't you go ahead and tap her off here, Jace?
Yeah. So just kind of wrapping everything up before we send off for the day. Looking at everything, I think that as humanity, we are slowly, or a generation, I guess that's a better term. As a generation, we are slowly all evolving towards a more diverse palette with beers and with craft beers and all that kind of stuff. I think that 20 years from now, this top 10 list is going to look dramatically different than it does today. Even looking at everything around me, everybody that only drinks domestic American beers seem to be like more baby boomers and my parents and stuff like that. But everybody my age drinks a wide variety of beers and a wide variety of craft beers. And I'm hoping that 20 years from now, I can look at this top 10 list and I can see a little bit more diverse profile of good craft beers in there instead of just seeing the same generic beers that, everybody seems to buy. But it was great. It was a fun time. I loved recapping all these beers. That's pretty much all I have. I just really hope that everything evolves over the next 20 years and that people start to expand their profiles and their palates to different beer.
Be the change you hope to inspire.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Beers and Bullshit. We are out.
Thanks, everybody.